Hello everyone! Today we're going to have a workshop on exponential functions. Objective number 1. I can graph and determine the effect on the key attributes of exponential functions when the function is replaced by all these transformations. Question number 1. Which of the following functions could be represented by this graph? So my suggestion is for you to put this on Desmos and match the graph with the right equation. So choice A, as you can see, is not the answer because 1, 3 is part of the graph, and on here, 1, 3 isn't. So go to B and plug it in. Here you can see that 1, 4 is part of the graph, and here 1, 4 is not, so B is not the answer. Letter C has 1, 5 as part of the graph, and here 1, 5 is not part of the graph. So the answer here is D. Let's plug it in. Letter D has 1, 6, which here we have 1, 6, so the answer is D. Number 2. To slide the graph of the equation y equals 2 to the power of x 3 units to the left, the equation is altered. What is the equation? 3 units to the left is a horizontal slide, and that means that it affects the x value. Then that is to the left, so that's a plus 3. The answer is C. Let's check on Desmos. So this one is the original graph, y equals 2 to the power of x. And this is our answer, letter C, which confirms our answer that it moved from this black line 3 units to the left. Question number 3. Which of the following functions could be represented by this graph? Before we plug this in on Desmos, let us already have our process of elimination. As you can see, this graph is a decay. Because it's a decay, the number that should be inside the parentheses should be less than 1. There should be no negative because then reflection is being done to your graph. So there is no reflection. This is just simply a decay. So you have a choice of letter A and letter D. However, look at this number right here. This represents your asymptote. This asymptote is at y equals 1, and this asymptote is at y equals 0. The asymptote right here is 1. That is where your graph is trying to approach but will never touch. So we actually answered it. It is letter A, but let us confirm. All right, so this looks like our graph. You just have to make sure that you kind of look at some critical points, the points that are, like exactly on the coordinates. So this one right here is right in between 0 and -1 right here. So this right here is that point, which I can say that really this is our graph. So the answer here is A. Objective number 2, I can analyze key attributes of exponential functions. Number 1, if f of x is equal to 3 to the power of x plus 2, which of the following is an asymptote of the graph f? Guys, this is the asymptote, and the asymptote is equal to y all the time because it's a horizontal asymptote. So this is letter B. Let's confirm with Desmos. All right. As you can see, your graph tries to approach the y equals 2 line, and it will never touch it because that is your asymptote. The answer is B. Which of the following statement about this graph is true? See, we're talking about intercepts here, and the intercept is the number in front of your parentheses. Therefore, your answer here is A, which is that the y-intercept is 3. Plugging that in, we're able to confirm that your y-intercept is at 3. Let us now go to number 3, which statement describes the domain and the range of the exponential function f of x equals -3 to the power of x. Let's go ahead and plug this in on Desmos. Alright, so let's take a look at your graph. You know that this is going to -infinity as well as this. Therefore, our domain is the set of all real numbers. However, our range are just all these values that are below 0. It does not even include It does not even include 0. So therefore, the answer here is, let's take a look at all these. Letter A is not the answer. Letter B, the domain is the set of all real numbers and the range is the set of all negative numbers. That is your answer. Answer is B. All right, let's take a look at number 4. Let f of x be equal to 3 to the power of x plus 2 if g of x is uh, the function is being shifted 5 units to the right and translated 1 unit up. What is the equivalent domain? So guys, the equivalent domain of exponential function is always set of all real numbers because it goes to the negative infinity and positive infinity. It goes to the negative part of the x and then the positive part of the x. So left to right. Therefore, no matter how you shift it, even if you shift it up, you shift it 5 units to the right, your domain will still be set of all real numbers, and that is A. All right, we are now on objective 3. I can formulate exponential equations that model real-world situations, including exponential relationships written recursively. Number 1, a new breed of killer bees had been found in the Amazon forest. There were 10 of those killer bees, and the population is growing at the rate of 25% per week. Which equation represents the situation? So, first of all, it says growing, so this is an exponential growth. Because this is an exponential growth, the number inside the parentheses must be more than 1. Therefore, this boils down to letter B or D. Now, let's take a look at all the other information. Notice that the starting population of your killer bees is 10. That is your y-intercept, which is found in the front of your parentheses. So this is 10 and this is 100. Therefore, this is wrong because the answer has to be B. 10 bees to start with, and then it is growing by the rate of 25%. The answer is B. Let us now take a look at number 2. Anna is observing the population of an Asian beans in a temperature-controlled laboratory in order to find out if it can grow in a cold climate. Look at the table and choose the correct function that describes the data on the table. The first column is time in weeks, and this one is the number of mung beans. So this is W, this is M. So your function is M. So let's take a look at this. First of all, from 40 beans, it became 20. From 20, it became 10, and then became 5. So the rate is 50%, but it is decreasing by 50%. So let's take a look at this. First of all, your starting number, which is your y-intercept, is 40. That is found in the front of your parentheses. Therefore, you're down to B or D. Let's take a look at the numbers inside. This one is 1 plus 50%, which is growth. This one is the answer because this one is the one that has the 1 minus 50%, which gives you 50% or 0.5. Therefore, the answer here is D. All right, let us now do objective 4. I can solve exponential equations. Let us begin with number 1. I'm going to show you this first on Desmos, and then I will have to show you this by hand. So let's begin plugging this in on Desmos. All right, after plugging it in on Desmos, this showed up, and we will have to look for that number, and what that is a negative 1/4. The answer, therefore, is letter B. Now, let's do this by hand. You already know that to be able to solve for x, all the bases must be the same. And so, I'm looking at the 2, and I know that I can express this all in terms of 2. 2 to the power of 1. 16 is 2 to the power of 4. Put the parentheses and copy the exponent x. Copy the equal sign. And 1 is 2 to the 0. You all know that the rule is that whenever we are multiplying, we need to add the exponents. Simplify first the 4 times x. So writing down the exponents like this, and again, you know that that is going to be added. So 1 plus 4x equals 0. Bring down the 4x, put the negative 1 to the other side, and divide by 4. Answer is x equals negative 1/4 or negative 0.25, like what the Desmos shows. Let us now go ahead and do number 2, again using Desmos and manually. Okay, so after plugging it in, we came up with this line, and we need to take a look at where it ends, and it is at negative 3.5. Now let's go ahead and do it by hand. Okay, I'm looking at this example, and I know that I can express 8 to the base 2, so 2 to the third. The 4 can be expressed by 2 to the second power, and 16 can be expressed by 2 to the fourth. So this can all be solved manually. 8 is 2 to the third, 4 is 2 to the second. Copy down the x, copy the equal sign, and 1 over 16 is going to be 1 over 2 to the fourth. So multiply the 2 with the x so that it will be 2 to the power of 2x. Okay, you will have to bring up the 2 to the fourth up to the numerator, which will turn the positive exponent to a negative exponent. And then now we can write all the exponents down and solve for x. Remember that the 3 and the 2x will have to be added. And then now solve for x. And so what I did was I copied down the 2x, and then I moved the positive 3 to the other side, making it become negative 3. And then I copied down the negative 4, and then we will solve for x. 2x equals negative 7, and divide both sides by 2. And so your x is negative 7 over 2, or like what we saw in Desmos, negative 3.5. For our last and final example for our objective 4, what is the solution to 2 to the power of x equals 15? Well, you all know that if we cannot express the bases in the same base, we will have to use the logarithms. So let's do the natural log for both sides. We will have to do this manually. Get the natural log of both sides, like this, and then use the power rule for the log, which means that this power will go to the other side. Well, not to the other side, but to the front of this log right here, like this. And then we will have to solve for the x by dividing both sides by log 2. Whatever you do on the left, you do on the right. So our answer is x is equal to log 15 over log 2. And the answer here is A. Don't get confused by the base 10 because that's just how natural logs are. They have a base 10. So guys, that is it for our workshop. I hope that you have learned a lot today. And oh, we have one last one. So let's go ahead and do this. All right. In order for us to solve this, we will have to remove the square root, and that can be done by putting both sides to the power of 2. Whatever you do on the right, you do on the left. Now the radical on the right side has been removed, and the left side is now 9 raised to the power of 2x. That becomes 3 squared, all raised to the power of 2x. The left side is now equal 3 raised to the power of 4x. And now that the bases are the same, we can now separate our exponents and solve for x. Divide both sides by 4 to isolate the x. And now our answer is x equals 5y over 4, which is letter B. So guys, I hope that you have learned a lot today. Good luck on your power focus assessment.